So Tom Homan, as you know, is Donald Trump's incoming border czar. He's threatened to deport 20 million people. We'll get to that. But now he's also threatening to put the mayor of Denver in jail after the mayor said that he was willing to risk incarceration to resist the president-elect's migrant mass deportation plan. Now, the threat was issued against a guy by the name of Mike Johnston, not to be confused with the right-wing evangelical idiot House Speaker Mike Johnston. Two different people. This guy's a Democrat. He said he was not afraid of being jailed and encouraged people to protest against mass roundups of immigrants in their cities and communities. So Johnston's remarks came after Trump focused during the presidential election campaign on the Denver suburb of Aurora, if you recall, which he said had become a war zone where apartment buildings had been taken over by Venezuelan gang members. So Tom Homan, in his safe space, as many of these right-wing MAGA morons do, on Sean Hannity's show, had this to say about the situation.
Me and the Denver mayor, we agree on one thing. He's willing to go to jail. I'm willing to put him in jail. We're going to enforce the law, period. And they're not going to stop us.
That's what Homan had to say in regards to that whole situation. And it continues now with the mayor. So the mayor had this to say, the mayor in Denver, who Homan threatened to put in prison. This is the mayor's response to Tom Homan.
I think there are thoughtful ways to solve this problem. If they want to focus on violent criminals, we would be happy to help support pursuing, arresting, and deporting them. We've helped past administrations. We'd do that again. If they want to focus on adding more judicial capacity so folks with asylum claims can have those cases heard more quickly, we would support that. What we're not going to do is support deploying the 101st Airborne into American cities to pull 10-year-old kids out of their classrooms in handcuffs. I think that is immoral, that's unconstitutional, and that's un-American. And so I think if that's what they're proposing, they will find us resisting. If they want to partner on common sense solutions, we'll always be happy to partner.
Okay, sounds pretty fair to me. If there are violent criminals that happen to be undocumented, we will assist the government in getting them out. I think that sounds pretty fair and reasonable to me, but we shouldn't be deporting 10-year-old kids and grandmothers. I think that's a pretty fair approach. Obviously, Tom Homan disagrees with that because he's a bigot. So Tom Homan, again, he made a speech yesterday. Who will be the new border czar. I think he's the new border bigot. That's what I would call him. And he went on, and we're going to kind of dissect some of his words and what he plans on doing when he gets into the White House. Have a listen to this.
What you've done is not only protect the state of Texas and the citizens of Texas, you are protecting this nation. It's a shame we have other governors and other mayors who are right out of the gate. I said they're going to push back on President Trump and what we're trying to do.
I'll give you an example of why they want to push back on what you want to do. You're talking not about deporting violent criminals. That's not what you're doing. The people that are pushing back on what you plan to do or what you claim you're going to do is deport people that have been paying taxes for decades, that have kids that were born here. That's why some of these people are pushing back, you big bigot dope.
Especially for interior enforcement. Let me be clear. There is going to be a mass deportation.
Oh, yeah.
Because we just finished a mass illegal immigration crisis on the border.
Mm-hmm.
Where anybody can look at 9 out of 10 people claim asylum at the border will end up with an order removal. So you can't ask for the right to claim asylum, the right to see a judge, the right to due process, and we give you that due process, and at the end of that due process, a federal judge orders you removed, we have to remove them. Because if we don't, shut down immigration court. Those orders don't mean anything anymore. Take you guys off the border because there's no consequences. So you can't demand due process and the right to claim asylum and not obey the court order. That is why there needs to be a mass deportation. We have a mass number of people, millions of people who will get a final order and be order removed. If we don't do it, what is the option? Let them stay? Because if you let them stay, you'll never fix the border. There'll be companies, you're going to send a message to the rest of the world. Enter the country legally, which is a crime. Ignore a court order. You never have to go home.
Cut it right there. Ignore a court order. Be tough on crime. He's talking about accountability when it comes to breaking the law. Hey, idiot, you work for a guy who's a 34 count felon, and you want to preach to us about accountability? The guy that hired you is a 34 count felon who was supposed to be sentenced. And the only reason why he's not being sentenced is because he was reelected as the president of the United States, and they're going to sentence him in 4 years. You fool, you bumbling idiot. Yes, that's right. You want to preach to us about accountability, Tom Homan? Well, what do you think about someone that's a convicted felon? Should there be accountability there? You beached whale, you?
We're telling the whole world it's okay to enter this country legally. You never got to go home. We're a nation of laws.
Stop it again. I love it how these people preach nation of laws. We're a nation of laws unless you're the president of the United States. This guy wants to preach to us to be a nation of laws because somebody comes into this country illegally, but yet your boss, what about the laws that he broke? What about the 34 count felonies? What about all the indictments? Those should just go away, right? I just find it so ironic that these right-wing bastards, these racist bigots, want to preach to us law and order, when the face of their party is literally a 34 count felon. Folks, you cannot make this stuff up.
And I'm sending a message for people that said they're going to get in our way. They're going to stop us from doing what we're doing on an interior enforcement operation. I've said it 100 times in the last week. Don't cross that line. It is a felony to knowingly harbor and conceal an illegal alien from immigration authorities.
All of a sudden, Tom cares about felonies. Wow, I'm so happy to hear that. All of us, did you hear what Tom just said? Talking about felonies. All of a sudden, the next borders are all of a sudden cares if you commit a felony. I ask again, what about your boss? He's a 34 count felon.
Conceal an illegal alien from immigration authorities. Don't test us. The nation wants a safe country. We've had enough crime in this country, illegal alien crime. It's time to end it and stop it.
Again, something else that Tom Homan fails to either understand or he just wants to lie to the American people. He's making it sound like all the crimes in this country are from those that are undocumented, where per capita you have a better chance being the victim of a crime from someone who is an American citizen than someone who is an undocumented immigrant. But if you talk to Tom Homan, he'll make it sound like, if you listen to him, he'll make it sound like only those that are undocumented are committing all the crimes in this country, because he's a liar and he's a bigot.
He's committed to it. He's committed to securing this border. He's committed to having this mass deportation operation and concentrating on public safety threats and national security threats. For any mayor or governor who's going to push back on removing public safety threats from your community, that is your number one responsibility. You ought to be teaming up with us. We have created the biggest national security vulnerability in this nation on the southern border. Because like I said, 2 million known gotaways. We don't know how many unknown gotaways. Already
Too many known gotaways? So he went on and on and on. And again, the guy talking about felonies, stay out of our way, we need law and order, yada, yada, yada. Again, the guy who hired you is the poster child, is a felon. Well, Jasmine Crockett had something to say about that. I like Jasmine Crockett. I think she's got fire in her, and I like the fact where she separates fact from fiction, and she calls out some of her MAGA Republican colleagues. Here's what Jasmine Crockett had to say about Tom Homan. Have a listen to this.
Number one, they just made up this position, okay? Like, they created this position. This isn't something that, say, the Senate has to consent to. This is a random kind of henchman of Donald Trump's, number one. Number two, the job of that particular role is not to incarcerate people. If this man wants to be the one that is going to enforce our laws, then maybe we should look for him to be the Attorney General of the United States, because seemingly it doesn't matter whether or not you're qualified to fulfill that position for Trump. It's just about whether or not you will arrest the people that he wants arrested. And this was one of those things that we tried to warn people about with Project 2025, which is this idea of we will go out and we will incarcerate people. This is the type of thing that they claim was happening to Trump and his friends, instead of people accepting the reality that Trump and his acolytes are actual criminals. You know, right now we have people that are deciding that they are going to criminalize those that are not doing what Trump wants them to do.
Agree 150%. And Jasmine is an extremely intelligent individual and bright future, I think, down the road for her. Do I think Tom Homan is going to deport 20 million people? We've talked about this before. Probably not. I don't think logistically it's possible. They haven't even described on how they're going to do so. Do I think if you come into this country illegally and you've committed a heinous crime while you're here, you should be deported, put in jail? Absolutely. Most of the country agrees with that because that's a very reasonable approach. But do I think that families should be split up? And let's just say you're a father that comes to this country decades ago and you've been paying your taxes. You haven't committed any other crimes other than the fact that you're in this country illegally. You have a family. Maybe you're married. Maybe you're not, but maybe you have kids that were born here. Should we be separating those families? Shouldn't there be a pathway to citizenship for somebody like that? Well, Tom Homan would disagree with me because Tom Homan is a bigot. That's why. Yes, I do. I think you're a bigot if you think that every person in this country that's undocumented should be deported and that we should be separating families and deporting 10-year-olds and 90-year-old grandmothers. Yes, I think you're a bigot, and I think you should be deported.